Good morning, everyone. Happy February 16th. Welcome to this weekly update. My name is Rainey. I am the proud mayor of the great city of Peekskill, New York, and I am joined today, as I'm joined every week possible, by our awesome city manager, Andy Stewart. Good morning, Andy. How you feeling?
It's wonderful to be with you, Mayor. Nice
Like,
long weekend. Hope
yes,
everybody had a lovely Valentine's Day.
I hope so. There's a lot of love in the air over this weekend, but it's
That's for
great to
sure.
be back. Great to be back. So, we have some things that we're just going to share with the community as we've been doing the last few months, almost a year now. Actually, Andy, we've been doing these weekly. We've been
Yeah, I
more.
think I think probably between with your leadership, we've probably done more public videos about
Yeah,
city operation than's ever happened before. And last year we did a bunch of them on the beginning of the COVID with panelists and stakeholders from various
yeah,
agencies and so on, which was really put a lot of information out there. And we've
yeah.
had
It's
some great
interesting.
guests.
Yeah, these have actually become like a part of the routine now. Like I feel like if we don't do it, I'm gonna feel like we're missing something on a Tuesday morning. So. But it's great to be back. Today's February 16th. So a few things we're going to share with you all. Of course, the first topic is always going to be about COVID-19, where the city of Peekskill is, how we're doing, and what direction we're going. I do want to remind people. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, Andy, then we'll come right back. We're doing the food drive this Friday, given the weather, weather permitting. At the food drives, we've been giving away masks, we've been giving away sanitizer. So if you're interested to have some masks or sanitizer, you don't have to come to the food drive specifically to pick up food. If you just like a couple of masks for you, family, and friends, feel free to give some. Feel free to come down and get some. And I also want to give a special thanks to the Peekskill and NACP, as they were actually distributing masks this past weekend at the Kylie Center in Bowman Towers and in Dunbar Heights. So thank you for continually, pressing and pushing the message of being safe and wearing your mask. And as far as the numbers go, Andy, you may have that with you.
Yeah, so our numbers are coming down a little bit as far as positive COVID cases or active cases in the city. So as of Valentine's Day on February 14th, which was the last time that the county updated its dashboard for this, and you can get this on the Facebook page. You click it and you can see the map the county creates with numbers for Peekskill and all the other municipalities. We were at 151 cases, 151. That's down from a little over 200 a week or so ago. And just for perspective, back in January, we were at January 17th, I'm saying 438. So the numbers have been much higher, but they've also been much lower. If you go back to, August of last year, we actually got down into the single digits at one point. So clearly, the holidays, the Christmas and New Year's, and obviously had an effect on the numbers. They came up a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and they're starting to come down. I feel like we're a little bit caught right now because we're hearing about more contagious kind of variations on the virus at the same time as our actual positive case rate is going down and vaccines are becoming more available. So I feel like we're in this moment where we just really need to stick to our game, like you were
Yeah,
saying, around
yeah,
masks and
yeah.
sanitation and distancing so that we can get through this thing.
Right. And continue, even though we, like Andy said, even though the numbers have dropped drastically, thank God. I still encourage people to maneuver as if we are still in a high risk zone. We met with the school district a couple of weeks ago. We met with the bid a couple of weeks ago, and different organizations within the city that are working tirelessly to press the message and push the message and still try to give people an opportunity to live, work, and enjoy life as close to normal as we possibly can. And at the same time, again, encourage people to get tested, encourage people to stay home if they're not feeling well, encouraging people to wear their mask when in public locations or around people, and encouraging people to not gather with more than 15, 20 people in an indoor venue. So, and of course, with sports being reopened, the Parks and Rec is working on their reopening establishment, working with the housing authority as well as the youth bureau and other organizations within the city to try to prepare us to be as close to normal as possible. But in the meantime, I encourage people to look at all of the opportunities online. There's so many virtual meetings, virtual gatherings, virtual fundraisers, virtual paint and sip. I think it is. There's all type of things for people to do virtual now. It's become a new world, but it's very, very effective. And it may not be as fun as sitting next to somebody in person, but it's almost as fun. But more importantly, it's safe. It's a lot safer
Yeah,
than being
absolutely. Yeah, I just want to mention as well, just two things. One is that it's the small gatherings, it's not even the big gatherings, it's the small gatherings, family gatherings and friends that have really, we've been told by public health authorities that small gatherings are essentially identified as the most impactful area where the virus spreads. So it's not, it's like most people know better than to have a big party or, Super Bowl party, whatever. But we let down our guard in the
yeah.
small gatherings. And that's one thing. And the other thing, and this is something we had Jonathan Zamora from the seniors program on last week, I think it was.
Mhm.
But there's some real terrible scams going on. And I wanted to mention again, it's
Yeah.
especially for seniors, but really for anybody. If you get a phone call or email saying, if you pay money, you can kind of advance on the line for getting a vaccine or somehow get an appointment scheduled, it's a scam. And this has recently took place up in Rochester. I'm sure it's around. People are always looking for ways of unfortunately of scamming on the naive. And so there's no way that we're aware of that you can pay to get your name on a list to get a vaccine. And if you are invited to do that, or somebody who has, just know that it's too bad. But people in their time of need will fall prey to those kinds of scams. It's important that we spread the information about how they're not legitimate at all.
Yeah.
Especially if they start asking for bank accounts, credit cards, social security number, any of that stuff. Forget about it.
Yeah.
It's a scam.
And I just want to add to that, I did a virtual town hall with the mayor of Yorktown and White Plains, as well as County Executive George Latimer about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And one of the conversations were, about the vaccine process. I received a phone call just yesterday. I was in the grocery store, and somebody had called my office, but the phone, the phone forwards phone calls from the office to my cell phone. And the gentleman I was speaking to was highly upset because he felt that the city of Peekskill didn't consider his father for vaccination. So just want people to be, fully aware that the city of Peekskill doesn't have a storage or a freezer in the basement full of vaccinations that we're distributing to the community. We're working with the county executive, we're working with the state senator, and working with the governor's office to try to advocate to get more here for our seniors and for our community as a whole. But they've come out with a plan on how they want to distribute it to the state of New York. So they've been giving it to first responders, they've been giving it to nurses and doctors, and they're starting to give it out to teachers and in school, school district workers, and eventually they're going to start giving it out to the community at a more higher volume. But right now, it's if we get a phone call saying that the city of Peekskill will have some, they kind of decide how they want to distribute it to our community. We just work with them, and we're just thankful that they're bringing it to us. So I just want everybody out there to know, as soon as we get information about more vaccinations, as soon as we know, you will know, and we'll make sure that the Peekskill community gets what we deserve as fast as we can possibly get it.
Absolutely, Mayor. Our goal right now is to try to get the state to set up a vaccination site in Peekskill. Yeah. And so that's what we're pushing on.
Yeah. So Andy, thank you for that. So I just want to move along a little bit. As I mentioned, I'll just briefly say this. The food driver is back. We were out there last Friday. And again, as long as it doesn't snow too much, we will be out there. We've been out there in the rain. We've been out there in the heat. We've been out there in the cold. We just haven't been able to manage to be out there when it snows more than 3 or 4 inches, only because the trucks have to come up from feeding Westchester, and they can have a hard time driving up here and just unloading the truck and everything else. But as long as it's not more than 2 or 3 inches of snow, we will be out there Friday. If we do happen to miss it Friday, we try to get double the order the following Friday of food. So the volume is high. And I think just Jonathan told us in the past year, the city of Peekskill gave over 1 million tons, 1 million pounds of food, which is a lot. So the city of Peekskill has been working hard. So but that'll be this Friday. I do want to jump into the task force. We had our public meeting last week. We had some great participation. I want to thank the organization committee, Andy. I want to thank Susie, the chair, Antonio Knott, Chief Donald Halmy, Councilman Fernandez, as well as Valerie Eaton for giving us a really powerful opening and setting the tone for the conversation to be effective and the dialogue to be, to create progress. So the public task force meeting was last Thursday. We're getting down to the wire where the task force will be presenting some sort of list of recommendations to the council early next month for the council to review, discuss, and prepare and see what resolutions or what recommendations we can approve at this time and what recommendations we can approve at a later date. And also, I want to remind people that the task force is pretty much the deadline for all of this is April 1st, but this community has spoken and made it clear that we don't want the discussions of community policing to be ended in April. So the conversation is looking to go for as long as we possibly can. And I just want to say this as an African American man. A lot of people were speaking about the fact that there weren't a whole lot of community people. There's only about 675 people on the call. It's going to take time and process for an organization like this to get the trust of the community. The African American community will tell you that there's been 400 years of mistreatment in this country. So to say that there's a task force and expect the entire community to be on that task force call to think everything is going to change is not going to happen. I don't even think that's possible. You need to let the community have a little bit of time to actually understand the process and see some of the work, see some of these recommendations that actually take place from this council. And I can almost guarantee you'll get more people to be a part of it. So to those who were on the call who were discouraged because there's only 70 people, just understand that it doesn't, in some situations with the history and the experience of the African Americans in this community, in this country, you can't expect something to just make everybody jump on and feel like everything's going to change. You got to give us a little bit of time to embrace it and see some of those changes and gain that trust. And I think this task force with the people that are on this task force can really help get that trust out there. So,
on a very practical level, Mayor, the draft plan with its many recommendations that have been kind of put out by the task force is available on the city website for anybody to read. And the goal, in compliance with the governor's mandate, of course, is to collect as much community input as possible. And so I think we've had 5 public meetings, but now we're in this period where we actually have a written plan. It's downloadable, Police Task Force webpage, and we have a deadline of the 18th. So a little bit, if we get to it this week, if you want to read it, folks out there, take a stab at reading through the whole thing, learn a lot about the police department and the different recommendations, and use the email address there to send in any comments or suggestions. They're more than welcome. And we will be sure to bring those comments, as we always do, back to the task force as a whole for further discussion. If they want to modify their recommendations, then they'll do so. So we accept the public comment was really quite active last week on Thursday night. And we're definitely getting some emails. I was looking at it today. And we've probably got about, 5 or 6 folks who've written.
Right. And that's for certain. So thank you, Andy. And we, like I said, we continuously encourage people to join these calls, to be a part of the discussion when they're public. Even if you can't join the call, somebody made us aware that some people just don't want to be on these calls, or some people just don't have time, after work or after whatever their life entails, to be a part of these discussions. But they do have recommendations. So if you do have recommendations, please, on the city website, use that email on there to send to the task force as a whole, and we'll share it with the subcommittee that's focusing on that recommendation, and we'll try to put it to use. And I would encourage people to read through it, definitely read through it, to get an understanding, because you may think that there's a recommendation that should be in the education and training, but it's actually in community engagement. So take a moment out, kind of swift through it. If you have time, read through it thoroughly to get an understanding of where the recommendations are. Maybe a recommendation that you have in mind may already be there. But it's been great. It's been a great process. It's been educational for myself. I learned some things about the task force, about the community, about the police that I wasn't aware of, and we made some recommendations that I think are really going to help start the movement of community and police unity and relationships. So just excited. So thank you. And Andy's done a phenomenal job of taking the notes because we've had a lot of notes.
Yeah, I try to you try to really listen carefully, and there's such a diversity of ideas. I mean, they run the gamut from very technical specific recommendations for policy changes within the police manual, all the way over to the creation of whole new forums and committees for the community to engage with the police department and work on issues. So they just range very widely across a whole spectrum of ways that the city can operate a little differently, adjust its practices so that more people can really feel comfortable reaching out to the police to get the services they need when they need them.
That's the ultimate goal. So, speaking of, Black History Month, as I mentioned earlier, this is the last month. Sorry, I apologize. This is the last month. We're down to the last 2 weeks for the Harriet Tubman statue here in the city of Peekskill. I've been seeing a lot of the virtual events and educational events they've been hosting around the Harriet Tubman statue. So again, if you haven't been able to go down there and take a look at it, please do. It'll be here to the end of Black History Month. It's right on the corner of North Division Street and Central Avenue. And it's just been beautiful. It's just been beautiful to have here. I brought my children down there to see it. When I brought my children down there, my son asked a lot of questions about Harriet Tubman, and I felt good to be able to explain a little bit of it to him, and just a little bit about where we come from. So make sure you go down there and check the statue out. It will be there for another couple of weeks, thanks to the bid and Fern and everyone who helped make that possible and bringing it here to the city of Peekskill. I know there's some conversations about trying to get an actual permanent statue, whether it be Paul Robeson or Harriet Tubman. Some people have been speaking about that, and I've been involved in a couple of those conversations. So if they create a committee or a board to focus on that, I would love to share the information with the community once I get more.
Yeah, I wanted to really compliment the bid on this. The Harriet Tubman statue is just phenomenal, just a very, very powerful monument. I actually sat over there last week and just sat on the bench and I had a little snack, taking a little break from work, and it's really a remarkable thing. And the bid does so much. And actually, as we were having this conversation, the chair of the bid texted me. He said, "Andy, don't forget to tell them about the trash schedule because
because they're really concerned. Like that's it. They're really interested in making the city better.
Eyes on the street, helping us communicate. And so just on that, just as a reminder, with the holidays, there's always an interruption in trash pickup, and so but people don't get the message, even though you try to put it out in as many channels as you can. So there's a bunch of boxes and recyclables out there in the downtown right now that still have to be picked up. The holiday of President's Day and Abraham Lincoln's birthday, the city workers were not out there doing their usual route, and also because of that, the usual Monday, Tuesday residential garbage pickup is pushed by a day. So it's today and tomorrow. And please bear with us, with the snowbanks and everything, that the men really have to work hard, and sometimes it's a little harder to pick things up. Takes them a little more time. So we appreciate cooperation around that. People are really trying to be careful. You put your trash can out there and it's a big snowbank. Do you put it beside it? Do you put it on top of it? Things fall over. So just take a little extra care. Try to help out your neighbors, and try to keep the environment as clean as you possibly can.
Absolutely. And the last thing I wanted to mention on my list, Andy, was the Peekskill Youth NAACP. They're looking to recruit more youth and young adults in the city of Peekskill. So if any, all of our wonderful viewers, whether your parents, aunts, uncles, grandfathers and grandmothers, godparents, or whoever you may be, if you have any young adults in your family or youth in your family that are interested in being a part of moving their community forward, the Peekskill Youth NAACP are looking for more members to join their committee. And they've even created subcommittees within the Youth NAACP as the regular NAACP has in the city of Peekskill. So you can Google their information. They have an Instagram page, Peekskill NAACP, Peekskill Youth NAACP, and their contact information is all there. So, but they're a phenomenal group of young adults that are looking to really make positive change, not only for the city of Peekskill, but for the world. And I think they'll be successful at what they do.
It's really a very, very important organization. And it goes back many years in the city. So many good works come out of the NAACP.
Absolutely. So, Andy, is there anything that you have on your list, or is there any questions? I know that the garbage pickup was
Yeah, I was looking at that.
vaccinated.
We had a question about vaccines, which I answered online.
Okay.
The city doesn't have vaccines. We will, when the authorities call, we'll try to find a place for them, you know, whether it's the Kiley Center or some other location. There's a question about whether Westchester Medical Center is still doing a testing
Testings.
in the library basement, and I have to say I'm not sure. So I put my email in the chat, and I will get back to whoever asked me that question. I'm not sure it's happening. They did it through January, and I think it might have stopped in February. I got to double check.
Mount Lebanon Baptist Church is also doing COVID testing, drive-through COVID testing.
Really?
Yep.
Well, that's good to know.
Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Yeah, the testing is really widely available now. I know that you know, my family also, we just order these kits and they do a little swab and send it in, and a day or two later you get your results back. So
okay, good.
So there's just different ways. It's pretty widely available, but it's convenient when you can walk to it, you know, right in the downtown. So
yeah.
and we've actually put out a call for businesses that have vacant space that are interested in a 6-month testing lease, because the state was looking for locations. We found one in Peekskill. It was a great location. We're hoping that the state sends a medical provider there just to be there for like 5 or 6 months, just to provide testing services. But that was a call, and I know I've mentioned on this video before, but people who, if you own a storefront and it's vacant and you're looking for a 6-month lease with a medical provider, this state is trying to take an inventory of those possible locations. So again, use my email to reach out if you're interested in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's about it. We had a couple questions. I think we covered everything.
Okay.
And we'll take up the conversation again next week.
All right. So yesterday was a holiday. So for those of you who watched the council meetings, tonight is our committee of the whole meeting. It was not last night. You did not miss it. So if anyone is interested, we'll be online tonight or your government channel at 7 p.m. Other than that, thank you all. Be safe. We do have some more snow coming this week. So please, please, please prepare yourselves as best you can. Stock up on everything that you may need just in case you're stuck in the house for a couple of days. And of course, wear your mask. God bless you all.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Andy. I'll see you later on.
All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.